Welcome to the world of scale modeling with Mike Ashey, where techniques, tips, and creativity come alive with dozens of tutorials, projects, tape-up reviews, and picture references to help you build better scale models and enjoy our wonderful hobby. Welcome to episode 14 of Building and Detailing the Monogram Revell 140H scale B-25J. In this episode, we're going to paint the small parts and the fuselage assembly. The decision I made was to paint my B-25J in the dark sea blue PBJ squadrons from World War II that were flown by the U.S. Marine Corps. Being a former Marine, I thought it was rather appropriate. Anyway, I got these decals from Kit World, and they're really nice. And so let me show you how I mixed the colors. This is a dark sea blue, which is of course a gloss color. This is the same dark sea blue, but with a clear flat coat over it. This is a dark sea blue with some intermediate blue mixed into it. And here's the intermediate blue color right here. And so when you mix intermediate blue with dark sea blue, you get a slightly lighter sea blue color. And so this and this are both the same color. The difference is this has clear flat on it, this does not. And then what I did for the fabric, I mixed a little more intermediate blue into the dark sea blue color, this color here, to create this color. So there's a slight variance in shade between this color and this color. This one's nice and flat. This one needs another coat of the clear flat color on it. But I think that will look really, really nice when it's done. Now, the reason why I did that is you have to consider the scale effect of colors. This is the actual dark sea blue color as painted on real aircraft. So you need to lighten it up a little bit to get the better scale effect on it. That's the best way I can explain it. So that's what I'm going to do, and I've got the colors mixed. So I'm going to go ahead and airbrush the small parts first, and then I'll go ahead and airbrush the assembled aircraft. So I'll let you know how it goes. I've got the inside of the cowling areas taped up, and the outside of course will be airbrushed, and I still have a whole section to put across here, but this one is done. So you get to see how I did it, just little sections at a time, and I slowly worked my way across, got all the lower half sealed, and then I put tape in the opposite direction to seal the upper half. To airbrush these, I double faced some tape and wrapped it around here on this piece of balsa wood, and now I can airbrush the entire thing. And then when it's done and it's drying, I'll have two pieces of tape double faced here, and I'll put one here and one here. So that's how I'll paint the cowlings, airbrush the cowlings. On the other pieces, these small pieces, I just want to show you how I attach them to pieces of balsa wood, and I'll airbrush them. The control surfaces will be airbrushed a lighter color because the fabric does fade, and I've looked at enough pictures, and on some of the pictures, newly painted aircraft, there's no fading of the fabric, but if the aircraft has been exposed to the sun for any length of time, the paint on the fabric fades pretty quickly. And the metal sections here will be painted the slightly darker color. So that's how I'm going to proceed with painting this, and we'll move along here, and when I'm done airbrushing, I'll show you the finished product. Careful masking will always give you sharp demarcation lines between the colors, and here you can see the cowlings look pretty good. The elevators and the ailerons look pretty good. They have the lighter coat of the finished color, and they're going to have to be masked so that the trim tabs, which are metal, can be painted the darker color. The smooth sides of these parts were airbrushed first, and then the smooth sides were masked, and then the interior color was airbrushed. With the elevators masked, it's now time to paint the trim tabs, which are the darker color. Here's how I masked the trim tabs on the ailerons for the darker color. The rudders were airbrushed the lighter color and then carefully masked so that the trim tabs and the actuators on the trim tabs could be airbrushed the darker color. Note how I used tiny sections of masking tape to complete the masking. The fuselage assembly was airbrushed with 2 good coats of the darker color. Note the difference in colors between the fabric surface and the metal surfaces on the rudders. Good airbrushing technique will give you a nice, smooth paint surface equally applied on all of the surface of the model. I let the paint dry for 2 days and then applied a good coat of clear gloss polyurethane over the surface in preparation for the decals. The cowlings had their decals applied, and then they received a clear flat coat. Note the difference in color between the surface of the wings and the cowling. The clear flat coat lightens up the color and gives it a nice scale effect. The top turret clear part was masked with small sections of tape. Note the tiny strips of masking tape which define the curved surfaces of the frame of the plastic. The canopy was masked with both large sections of masking tape and tiny sections of masking tape for the curved surfaces. I also masked the interior areas of these clear parts, and then I attached them to balsa wood so that they could be airbrushed. On clear parts, I always airbrush the interior color first and then apply the finish coats. The clear plastic on the aft sections of the fuselage for the 50 caliber machine guns had canvas covers, so these areas were masked off and the canvas color was airbrushed the lighter color. The clear parts look pretty good, and I also added a tiny bit of subtle chipping on the top of the canopy. On small parts, I like to add small sections of rod to them so that when they're glued to their locations, you get a really strong bond. To airbrush the anti-glare area on the forward part of the cockpit, the first thing I did was apply a thin strip of masking tape to outline the area, and then I added larger strips to cover the surface. I then added even larger strips to cover the surrounding area so there would be absolutely no opportunity for the airbrush color to bleed off onto these areas. The anti-glare area was then airbrushed with flat black. Be sure the paint is dry before you start removing the large sections of masking tape. What you don't want to happen is have paint get on your fingers and then onto the surface of the model. I'm going to speed the video up a little bit to save some time. Note how I'm holding the tip of the number 11 X-Acto blade flat against the surface of the model. It's best to position the tip of the number 11 blade over an overlapped area of masking. This helps ensure that the tip won't gouge or damage the paint surface. This is that long, thin strip of masking that I was talking about that helps define the area that you want to airbrush. The fuselage assembly is now ready for subtle weathering and the application of decals. In episode 15, I'm going to demonstrate how I do subtle weathering with dry brushing, a sponging technique, and pencil pastels, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. And when you get the chance, visit our website at www.mikeashley.com, where you're going to find dozens of free PDF downloads, including tutorials, picture references, model galleries, projects, and my 5 original scale modeling books. Thanks to Ben Sound and Videvo for the royalty-free music, and happy scale modeling!